John Lynch just got his extension. Agree or disagree that he's the most important person in the 49ers front office? Now, that doesn't include Kyle Shanahan, the front office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that includes Jed York, Parag Marath, Adam Peters, Martin Mayhew, the entire scouting team. That's what I'm talking about. Leo, you're up.
Yeah, he is, because if it wasn't for John Lynch, they wouldn't even have Jimmy Garoppolo for even a second-round pick right now. They probably would have signed Kirk Cousins as a free agent quarterback, paid him all this amount of money. Who knows if they could even afford Kittle, Armstead, and the other players on the team, because Kirk Cousins just makes way too much money. And if it's not John Lynch, does that other person have what it takes to overpower Kyle Shanahan's decision on who he wanted as his quarterback? So, yes, he's the most important in that front office.
Gotta agree with Leo there. He is the most important, and we can say for a fact that Kyle Shanahan was going to pay Kirk Cousins. That's why they weren't even scouting players like Patrick Mahomes for that draft, because they pretty much had it set in their mind that Kirk Cousins was going to be a 49er. And thank goodness for John Lynch just giving up a measly second-round pick for a starting quarterback. So much worth it right there. I know they gave him that contract, but still, for how much deadbeat quarterbacks are coming through in and out of the door until Kaepernick had his 2 years, you just needed someone in there. And so that's a great point too, Leo, that at least you have a general manager, even though Kyle Shanahan was the first one there, at least you have a general manager who's not afraid to butt heads. And that's what you need. You really need that difference in opinion. You really need that little bit of friction, which is okay. Friction's okay. A little headbutting's fine. That's good. At least both of these guys care. At least both of these guys are bringing something unique to the table. So it's not just stale and stagnant. It's going somewhere. They're pulling different ideas from different places. So that's something I wouldn't see from other players. From other people in that front office. I was leaning a little towards Parag because of how great he's kept the salary cap, and they're one of the best teams in the league that does that. But at least with Lynch, at least before Parag can even get to that moment of making deals and thinking of what to do with these players, Lynch is the one who was bringing them, even making that a possibility. So Lynch for sure off top.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think John Lynch is a great face to have represent the franchise, which is something I really look at, is who's representing your franchise, who's the face of the franchise from a managerial standpoint. That's John Lynch. And he represents the franchise well, like you guys are touching on. He's done a great job acquiring talent over the years. And Kyle Shanahan is up here for me. John Lynch is down here if we're including Kyle Shanahan. But as far as Adam Peters, Parag, Jed, John Lynch right now is so responsible for this turnaround. So I'm going with him as well. I agree.
I agree, but just to go off a different point, I think Jed York made the most important decision in the last couple of years, just by going away from that Jerry Jones and Al Davis trajectory of getting too involved with your team and taking a step back and trusting John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and all the other front office members to do their job. And I think that was probably the biggest front office move of the last 20 years for the Niners was for Jed York to take a step back and let his guys he's paying to do their jobs.
That was huge.
Okay, I agree that Lynch is the most important person in the 49ers front office, but I'm going to take it a step further and say that he's the most important person in the 49ers entire organization. More important than Kyle. And I'm going to explain why. I'm not saying he's better at his job than Kyle, though he's really good at his job. But I covered the Harbaugh years, okay? And I know this organization. If Kyle were here without John, Jed York, Parag Marath, and the people in ownership, John York, they'd find a way to mess this up. They'd find a way to alienate Kyle Shanahan and run him off the way they alienated Jim Harbaugh. Because remember, the Niners, their reputation before John Lynch got there was you can't trust them. They'll say anything and they won't stick to it. They have no integrity. They'll leak everything, and they'll undermine their own coaches and players. That's what Jed York's reputation was, Parag Marath, Trent Baalke's. John Lynch comes in and says, we're not doing leaks anymore. We're not doing that. I'm bringing integrity to this organization. And it's a very important thing because I know the players respect him. He's a borderline Hall of Fame player, but he doesn't lie to them. They know they can trust John Lynch. If he says something's going to happen, he treats them like pros. He doesn't lie. He gives the entire organization integrity. He allows Kyle Shanahan to be the brilliant head coach he is without having to worry if the owner is going to interfere. I think that John Lynch's role is totally necessary, and if they ever were to run him off, they would go back to being the Cleveland West organization that I thought they were before he was there. I mean, just remember the Trent Baalke years. He really, I thought, epitomized what was wrong with that place. You couldn't trust him. The players didn't trust him. They didn't like him. And I think there was a backbiting culture in the 49ers, and John Lynch has, more than anyone, more than Kyle, has erased that and made the 49ers an organization like the Steelers, like with integrity. And I think that's been the York's problem. That's what they don't have compared to DeBartolo. So as long as Lynch is there, I really think the Niners can be a first-rate organization beyond football. Because as long as Kyle and Saleh are there, the schemes are going to be good. But that's a different issue. I'm talking about the culture of an organization, because we've seen in the past how poor ownership can poison a great team. And John Lynch right now is the shield between Kyle Shanahan and Jed York. And it's a very important shield because we know what Jed York can do, even if he means well. So I'm glad that John Lynch got his extension, and they better keep him around. He said he's not a lifer. They better find a way to make him a lifer. If it means paying him double what he's worth, then do it, because there's no salary cap and Jed York is worth billions of dollars. He needs to understand that John Lynch is the best thing that's happened to this organization in a lot of ways in a long time.
Well, that would be interesting if John Lynch did leave and Jed York did revert back to normal. I feel like he would still take a step back a little bit. I don't know. That's a little hard to say too as well. I think still he would acknowledges, like he has already, hey, when I start putting more than one fingerprint on this ball, things go downhill. So I'd be very interested to see how that would go. But to put fuel towards your point, Grant, the players love him for sure, and his body of work speaks for itself. Other than he is a player, Hall of Fame player, and he's playing both roles, so he sees it from both sides. Like for example, when they already knew I'm pretty sure he already knew DeForest Buckner wasn't getting paid even before that Super Bowl. That's why it was reported after it. Pretty much they realized, hey, we're not going to be able to get a deal done. And they looked out for him. Same thing with Navarro Bowman. Hey, we're going to just cut you versus just trade you to the place that you don't want to go. So they still, even though like, hey, you're not going to be under our cap, under our team, but at least we're going to try to look out for you because I know how it is being a player. So that's great for him. That's going to send a message to the locker room for anyone that wants to come in, and probably why they fronted Trent Williams that money and why Trent Williams is all ecstatic other than playing for a Super Bowl contender, and just why it worked out with Mostert to a degree and everything. I just wonder, is he going to get done with Kittle though? Because that's still going to be the headline spotlight as we're going in the coming weeks.
Well, I don't know how much authority John Lynch has on that. I mean, I think whether or not Kittle gets paid is probably above him. It's going to be Kyle and Parag and Jed. But for what John is allowed to do, I do think he's incredibly important. Because if it weren't for him, if he weren't in the organization, I think he makes players want to play for the 49ers. I think players want to play for John Lynch because they know that he'll be honest. He won't stab him in the back, and he'll treat them like pros. And there's a lot of GMs around the league who aren't like that. Trent Baalke wasn't like that. And look, anyone who's covered or watched the 49ers the last 20 years knows that the Yorks have an integrity issue. They do not have a good reputation around the league. It's been that way forever. I mean, they've had a lot of bad coaches. They've fired a lot of people. They had a lot of bad teams. So I think that as long as John Lynch is here, he's like the deodorant for the franchise. He's not the deodorant for the franchise. He's the deodorant for ownership. And they freaking need antiperspirant, like Axe body spray. And that's what he is.
Well, John Lynch kind of reminds me like what you were saying, like a MLB manager where they always say the backup catchers always make the best managers in the future because they kind of know how to talk to all the guys on the bench where the stars get the great treatment, but the backups need that every day, like knowing when you're going to play the 2 times that week. And John knows what the non-quarterbacks need to succeed, and he helps them out, like you're saying.
Yep. And again, I just want to make the final point. Remember, before John Lynch got there, the Niners were the team that leaked, right? Yep. All the time. Before games, Ian Rappaport said that Jim Harbaugh had lost the locker room before Week 1, 2014. That was the Niners. And ever since John Lynch came, he ended that. And to be a serious organization, you got to end that. You have to. So as long as he's there, they're a serious organization. And I used to really make a living off of just ridiculing the 49ers because it's Jed York. I mean, you should be ridiculing him, but as long as John Lynch is there, you got to take them seriously because he is a real pro. And for last week, I thought why is he lying about Jamal Adams? the next day he goes on the radio and lays it all out. He is a very honest person, and he doesn't need this job to like lie for Jed York. He's going to do what he wants to do. I really appreciate him being there. It feels like he's like a connection to the past, to the Eddie DeBartolo years. So anyway, that's my rant. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
We'll do this again next week, but we'll let people go home and do what they got to do. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you all.